everyone. This is English only, 영어만. The best stroke medicine, part number 1. What is the best medicine for stroke? 뇌졸중 을 위한 최고의 치료법 제1부 Stroke medicine, part number 1. Best stroke medicine, part number 1. 뇌졸 중에 가장 좋은 치료법은 무엇일까요? What is the best medicine for stroke? Now, one of the best medicines for stroke is temperance. In other words, being temperate in all things is one of the best medicines for stroke. Why? One of the main reasons why so many people have different types of sickness and disease is because they are unbalanced. They're not balanced. For example, the blood pressure is too high. Blood sugar is too high or too low. Unbalanced. For example, I will tell you a story. This story is based on a true story. Suzy Bambi used to eat so many vegetables and so much bad sugar foods when she was young. At that time, she did not have any health problems. And that's the same for you and me. When we are young, we ate lots of bad, unhealthy foods. But after you pass, when you turn age 55, now our body parts is sensitive and weak. The kidney start to work slowly. The liver starts to work slowly after you pass the age 50 or 55. So whenever you eat unhealthy food, then we start to see the problems, health problems. And this was the problem with Suzy Bambi. But now, one more time, Suzy Bambi used to eat so many vegetables and so much bad sugar foods when she was young. But at that time, she did not have any health problems. But now, she is 55 years old. Now her body parts became weak and sensitive. Whenever she eats various foods, one morning she decided to eat 20 pegs of garlic, chocolate cakes, and ice cream. Garlic is a natural blood thinner medicine. Eating too many pegs of garlic will make our blood very thin. This will cause a bad blood clot in your body, in our bodies. Then it will cause a bad blood clot in your brain, which can kill you. It can kill us. The next morning, Suzy Bambi had a mild stroke. At that time, she couldn't move her fingers. And her right leg. Her health record showed that her blood was so thin that it caused a bad blood clot in the right side of her brain. She had one of the best doctors in the world. The good doctor told her that she should follow the best New Start diet plan so that she can overcome her stroke problem naturally without using drug medication. Why? T means temperance. Temperance is one of the best medicines for stroke. Temperance is also one of the best New Start health principles of Jesus. One more time. Temperance, T means temperance. Temperance is also one of the best New Start health principles of Jesus' best New Start diet plan, healthcare plan. She decided to follow Jesus' best New Start health principles. After a few weeks, she got true healing from her stroke health problems. According to Jesus, according to Genesis 1, verse 29, according to the first book of the Bible, the first chapter of the Bible, Jesus gave our first parents the best original diet plan, the best diet plan. This original diet plan is called Jesus' best New Start diet plan. N means nutrition. That's what N means nutrition. E means nutrition. That's Genesis 1, verse 29. That's N. E means exercise. Genesis 2, when God put our first parents, Adam and Eve, in the garden to exercise the garden, to take care of the garden, to do farming in the garden. In Genesis chapter 2. So Adam and Eve were exercising in that garden. So E means exercise. W means water. In that garden, there were rivers, very clean rivers filled with good water, nutritious water, water that has mineral. The water that we have today, there's no mineral. I don't think there is good mineral in the water that we are drinking, especially filtered water. But the water in the garden where Jesus put our first parents, they had good water, lots of water. S means sunlight. Vitamin D, free vitamin D. This is the best type of vitamin D. The vitamin D in the drugstore, that is processed vitamin D. But the real vitamin D is found in the sunlight. But we need temperance, not too much, not too little. Now, T means temperance. A means air. T means temperance. That's 1 Corinthians 9, verse 27. And Matthew 7, verse 13 and 14, where Jesus talks about the balanced way. You see, the narrow way is a balanced way. There's no right side and there's no left side. It's perfectly balanced. Now, so I said here, this original diet plan, no wait, A means air. Genesis 1, when God made God made air. The first highest nutrition, what was it? What was the first highest nutrition in Genesis chapter 1? God said, let there be light. So light, Genesis 1, verse 3. And God said, this is Jesus when he was creating this earth. He said, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. That's the first highest nutrition. That was the sunlight. Because we need to get the vitamin D. That's the best, highest, the first highest nutrition. The sunlight. So T means temperance. A means air. So Genesis 1, it has the different nutrition. The sunlight, nutrition. And then the second one, the third one. So the first one is light. What is the second? The second one is water. Water is the second nutrition of life. This is the very important. Just imagine there's no water. 70% of our body or 80% of our body is water. The brain needs 70% water to live, to be healthy. The liver needs, the kidney needs 70% of water. The heart needs 70% of water. When there's no water in the brain, we will die. So there's nutrition in the water. Now, and what's the third highest nutrition? The first one is light. The second is water. And the third, what's the third one? Is air. The third one, no, the first one is light. The second is air. And the third is water. The third is water. The third is water. And the fourth is food. Is food. The God created light first, and then I need to go back. Let me check here. This is Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1. Let me see. It says, verse 3, and God said, let there be light. That's the first highest nutrition. And then God created water. God created water. And then God created air. No, I think the second is air, the third is water, because we cannot live without air. We can live without water less than 3 days, 4 days, but without air, we cannot live less than probably 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. We cannot live without air. So the air is the second highest nutrition. The oxygen, the O2, which is chemically balanced all over the world. And if this oxygen becomes unbalanced, it will create atomic bomb. We will die. Everyone will die if oxygen becomes unbalanced. So I think the first highest nutrition is light. The second is air. And the third is water. And the fourth is food. Genesis 1 verse 29. So let me go back to the subject. So I said here, this original diet plan is called Jesus' Best New Start. So R means rest. That's Genesis chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2 verse 2 and 3. When God rested. And God rested not because he was tired. God rested to show us, to teach us how important this health principle is. There's nutrition in rest. Why do hospitals have beds? Because people work too much. So rest is one of the best new start. We need to rest. When you're sick, rest. Resting. God said rest. And then T means, the most important one is T. Trust in the master designer. It means to have the faith of Jesus. This is the most important, because without this, we can't experience the good nutrition. We can't exercise properly, because Jesus says, without me, John 15 verse 5, we cannot do nothing. So Jesus' Best New Start diet plan. The original diet plan has grain herbs. Herbs for medicine. Herbs for food. The green herbs, the vegetables, the root vegetables, the neutral vegetables, and the green leafy, and the green leafy vegetables. it has the fruits. That is, every tree whose fruit yields seeds. Eating too much of these root vegetables, such as garlic, onions, turmeric, and other herbs, can make our blood too thin or too thick. These vegetables will cause bad blood clots. And some herbs are medicines. We should not take them every day. These vegetables will cause bad blood clots when we eat too many of them. Too many of them. That is why the wise group people are traveling on the narrow way, which leads to true success in this life, the balanced way. But the foolish group people are taking the broad way. The broad way is the unbalanced way. It accommodates everybody. Everybody is welcome on the broad way. There's a right side, there's a left side. Everyone is welcome. But the narrow way, only the wise group can take that way. It's the perfectly balanced way, which represents temperance, the way of temperance. So I said, but the foolish group people are taking the broad way, which leads to the place of destruction, sadness, and getting different types. You lead to a place where you get different types of sickness and disease, pain and suffering, and all different types of complex problems in this life. That's what the Broadway gives. That's what the Broadway, that's what you get when you take the Broadway. That was why Jesus told us to take the narrow way. That's what Jesus said. Take the narrow way. It doesn't have a right side and it doesn't have a left side. It is perfectly balanced. And it is the temperate way of life. According to 1 Corinthians 9, verse 27, Matthew 7, verse 13 and 14, Luke 13, verse 24. According to Matthew 7, verse 13 and 14, Jesus said that so many people are taking the broad way that leads to destruction. Let us read the precious words of Jesus. This is Matthew 7, verse 13. Notice what Jesus is saying. Jesus is telling us which way we should take. Jesus said, enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate. The narrow way has a gate. It says, and that gate represents Jesus. Jesus is the gate. That's what Jesus said in John 14, verse 6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. Many people are trying to get to the Father, but we cannot get to the Father except through Jesus Christ. It says, enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way, which leads to destruction. And there are many who go in by it, and Jesus used a different language here. When Jesus talked about the Broadway, he used a different language, like the people that are taking the Broadway, they're being led. It's like someone is being led. It's open for everybody. But the narrow way, it's a different language Jesus is using here. In Matthew 7, verse 14, Jesus said, because narrow is the gate, and difficult is the way which leads to life. And there are few who find it. The wise group, they found the narrow way, but it's a different language. A foolish group, there's nothing for them to do. They didn't find the Broadway. They're being led into the Broadway. They're being controlled, being influenced, being seduced, being educated unconsciously to take the Broadway. But the narrow way, it's a way that we need to find. It says, but there are few who find it. And then this is the one we need to pay attention to. This is the most important one. Luke 13, verse 24. It says, strive to enter through the narrow gate. For many, I say to you, will seek to enter and will not be able. This is the most important verse. That there are so many people that are trying to enter the narrow gate, but they can't. because they're not following Jesus' plan. Jesus' best new start plan. This is the only way. That's what Jesus said. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. That's the only way we can enter. Through Jesus. Jesus, no one. We can't even go to the Father except through Jesus Christ. So we need to understand, this one is the most important one because it says strive. Jesus telling us, we need to strive. This way is not, it's not like the Broadway. The Broadway is very easy. Everybody is welcome. It accommodates everybody. And the Broadway, the people are drinking the wine of Babylon. And when you drink the wine, every woman looks good. Every woman look good. All women looks beautiful when you drink the wine of Babylon, because the Broadway has the wine of Babylon. And wine of Babylon in the Bible, what does it represent? It represents false teaching, false principles. That's what the wine of Babylon is. It's the wine of Babylon. It represents false teaching, false principles. So when you take the Broadway, you're going to drink the wine and you cannot tell which way to take. Every way looks good. All way leads to heaven when you drink the wine of Babylon. When you drink that wine, you cannot tell the difference between a good woman and a bad woman, or a good man and a bad one, good man and a bad man. You cannot tell the difference between the true church and the counterfeit church, the true religion and false religion. Although true Christianity is not a religion, it's a movement to bring back people to the original plan of God. So we need to understand that, but the Broadway, it accommodates everybody is welcome. And it has the wine of Babylon, and everything is okay when you take the Broadway. Everyone is okay because you're going to drink the wine of Babylon. All the messages on YouTube are good when you drink the wine. You can't tell the voice of God. Jesus said, the wise group, my sheep, they hear my voice and they follow me. But the foolish, they can't tell because they're drinking the wine of Babylon. That's, if you read Revelation 14, verse 7, I think, if my memory is correct, it talks about the wine of Babylon. And it represents false teaching, false principles. You have the enemy of man, which is Satan. He's trying to educate us, to educate our mind. Because if Satan can control our mind, he can control us. His work is finished. So this is why it's very important for us to follow Jesus' way. And this is the most important one, temperance. It's the most difficult one to master. Because in this world, they're teaching us, they're educating us to take the right or the left. But Jesus said, take the narrow way, which is perfectly balanced. There's no right, there's no left. You try to take the right, you're going to get off the narrow way. Because there's no right side and there's no left side. And then the people on the Broadway, I'm talking about the narrow way. It's perfectly balanced. But the people on the Broadway, the people on the right side, they're fighting the people on the left side. And the people on the left side, they're fighting the people on the right side. It's an unbalanced way, and they're not united. It's a way that everybody is so disunited. But the broad, narrow way, there's one position of truth, and everybody is perfectly united. There's true love among the people who take the narrow way. But the people who take the broad way, they're always fighting each other. It says, 1 Corinthians 9, verse 27. But I discipline my body. You see, for us to be disciplined, we need to have unity with Christ. Unity with Christ. John 15, verse 5 tells us, Jesus said, without me, we cannot do nothing. We can't wake up, we can't pray, we can't breathe, we can't eat properly, we can't speak properly, we can't dress properly without Jesus. So, you see, the best way to have success is to be well disciplined, well ordered. So I'm praying every day. Every day I'm praying, oh Lord, I need order. Refine me, purify me, help me, break me, melt me. I need that help. Purify me, I pray. Wash me thoroughly and cleanse me, break me, prepare me to be a sanctuary for you. Every day I need that cleansing, that refining, because I need to be well disciplined, well ordered, because we have an animal nature. And this animal nature, it wants to go right, it wants to go left. It's unbalanced. It's like that. So we need discipline. We need to be temperate. So if you want to overcome stroke problem, we have to understand we need to be perfectly balanced. The problem is that we're so unbalanced. Many people eat too much sugar food, too much salty food. And that's why they are high blood pressure and many different types of sickness and disease. But this temperance is most difficult one. Most difficult. It's the most difficult one. Of all the different principles, this principle is the most difficult one. So I'm praying every day, oh Lord, help me to master this one. But I discipline my body. This is Paul speaking here. Paul, one of the greatest person, one of the famous person in the Bible. His name was Paul. Very powerful person. His life, he was a successful person in following Jesus. And he said, notice why he was successful. He said, why was Paul so successful? Paul said, but I discipline my body. Discipline. This is temperance. Paul was temperate. He was temperate in all things. But I discipline my body. And Paul did it not by himself, not in his power. He did it through the power of Jesus Christ, through the power of the Holy Spirit. He said, but I discipline my body and bring it into subjection, lest when I preach to others, I myself should become disqualified. This is the most difficult. One of the biggest problems among God's people is that many people don't live what they preach. That's why I'm praying every day. Oh Lord, help me to overcome here. This is my weakness. This is why there's many problems among God's people. The real problem is majority. It was the same problem long time ago in the time of Jesus. The real problem in the time of Jesus, time of Moses, in all ages, the majority of people that didn't live what they preach. And here Paul is saying how it's important for us to live what we teach, what we preach, what we profess. And to do that, we have to unity with Christ. We have to be well ordered. But to be well ordered, we need to have unity with Christ, because Jesus said, without me, we cannot be temperate. Without Jesus, we can't be temperate. We're going to eat too much. Without Jesus, we cannot be temperate. And many people, they have good food, the best health food, but they cannot get through healing. Why? They reject the most important one. They reject the faith of Jesus experience. They reject to have unity with Christ. They reject this principle, temperate. It's one of the best medicine. You don't pay anything. The only thing you pay, you don't need to pay anything. It's free. And Paul is telling you how we can overcome many health problems. But I discipline my body and bring it into subjection, lest when I have preached to others, I myself should become disqualified. Thank you for listening.